This is from NFL Network's Good Morning Football. Kyle Brandt on the biggest obstacle to the Bengals in the AFC North.
There's a dirty little secret about the Joe Burrow Bengals that doesn't get talked about because it's beneath the radar. The Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor Bengals have really struggled against the Browns. Really struggled. Joe Burrow's 1-4 against Cleveland. Against Cleveland. These have not been great Cleveland teams. Last 2 years, his worst defeats, Burrow as a starter, have both been to Cleveland. They've rolled it up on him. The Bengals defense has been terrible. Burrow hasn't been able to get the win. And it's a combination of, we haven't talked about Cleveland much for the past year for a lot of different reasons, versus you're so distracted by Lamar and Pittsburgh, the Steelers logo, that you don't really think, the Browns, they've tuned up the Bengals a few times. Stefanski's completely unafraid of that team. Apparently Myles Garrett's completely unafraid of him. And this is just into the Cleveland thing more. When it comes time to pick the playoff teams, there's going to be so many Cincinnati, so many Baltimore. I'm sure Pittsburgh, they're not going to be picking the Browns. They're not going to pick the Browns. They're not going to be picked. Just turn on the games and at least give the Browns credits for when they play Cincinnati, in Cleveland, they've messed them up. Joe Burrow, 1-4, doesn't that not shock you? It is a thing that has happened the last few years where, for whatever reason, a lot of it having to do with the Bengals defense, they don't play well against Cleveland. They have to play well against Cleveland. Cleveland's going to be better this year.
Well, Myles Garrett has wrecked that offense most of the time, and it's only going to be more of a challenge for them now because of the style and the talent they've added on that line.
And look, these are, things I have, heard, obviously, they brought in Orlando Brown, and, he made Pro Bowl. Orlando Brown made Pro Bowls as a right tackle. So, and Orlando Brown does not have a great history against Myles Garrett. So that's great that you brought him in. Jonah Williams or, Collins, who, you have these two vying for, right tackle. If they were sure on either one of them, they would know who the right tackle was. And, with Jonah Williams, he was a guy a year ago they gave the fifth-year option to, and they thought so much of his 2022 season, they went out and signed Orlando Brown Jr. for a boatload of money, and they think maybe Jonah Williams will be the right tackle. They can't stop Nick Chubb, which has made whatever quarterback plays for the Cleveland Browns look 10 times better than they are on any given day because they can't handle it. And even the Deshaun Watson start last year, if the defensive coaches, and especially the secondary, had realized that, okay, now T. Higgins is off the field, now Tyler Boyd is off the field, maybe we should adjust what we're doing instead of, no, they didn't, and actually tried to tell us that the game became harder because those two players were off the field, and they should have won that game as well. It's not like it's like anything anybody's hiding. Joe Burrow struggles against his team. Yes, he is pretty outstanding against the other 30 teams in the NFL, but he struggles against this Cleveland Browns team. And we'll see if it changes, if it starts to, the gap starts to get a little more narrow and starts to get a little bit closer here as far as the 1-4 record. But right now, that is a serious issue. The Browns have played good football on the offensive side of the ball, and against Joe Burrow, they are 4-1. It's a fact.
Well, and the other thing is, I think Jim Schwartz will figure out a way to make the defense make them pay if T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are. I think he'll take that as an advantage.
Well, his theory is Joe Burrow hopefully is not going to get many throws off. That's exactly what Jim Schwartz is thinking. Well, if this is what you all did before I got here, let's see what we can do now where we have improved talent. You're the second leading sacker on your team does not have 3 sacks because that will not be the case in 2023.